There's a couple new Nintendo Switch stories we have to talk about today, starting with Mario Strikers Battle League getting a brand new overview trailer from the Nintendo of Japan account. And while it highlights some of the most hype gameplay we've seen of this title so far, there is also a trend that a lot of fans online are noticing with Mario sports games that have some people very unhappy. Then the big talking point for today's video has to do with Nintendo Switch Online Plus expansion pack, N64 games, and how they play specifically, as Nintendo has done a great job with the service more recently, in my opinion, but they are still making one massive mistake, as the service has been out for over 7 months, and we have to talk about what they need to do to make it better going forward. What's up, Nation? If it's your first time on the channel, make sure you join Sunbro Nation by subscribing below, hit the like button on this video if you enjoy it today, and make sure you turn on your bell notification icon so you're kept up to date with all the newest gaming news. Now guys, before we hop through the news stories today, I do have to put out a quick warning statement for the channel, as unfortunately a problem that has been plaguing a number of different YouTubers across the platform has now started affecting this channel, and that is fake bot accounts actually going in the comment sections saying that you've won some kind of giveaway that I have never announced, but it has my profile icon and it says Sunbro Nation at text me at WhatsApp or text me at Telegram. That is 100% a scam across the board. Don't fall for it. Unfortunately, they try to tell you you've won, and I think they essentially ask you to pay shipping costs, and at which point they have payment info and you know where that path leads. So make sure you don't share any of that information with any of those fake accounts. If I ever do a giveaway on the channel, I will absolutely announce it in the video directly, and I will give you guys exact instructions on how to enter. So anytime that you see something that says you've won from me and it's not my actual account, just do me a favor and then go ahead and report that account for spam or whatever the reason is. But it's essentially just a scam, and I don't want anybody to fall from it. I've gotten a number of messages from different people, and I just wanted to quickly address it so you guys know directly from me. Do not fall for this scam, and hopefully YouTube gives us some better tools to help tackle this, because I'll block an account and then the next thing there's a brand new one created. So I don't know how to handle it at this point, but hopefully we get some better tools in the future to knock that out. But now we can continue with the regular video. So ever since Mario Strikers Battle League was originally unveiled to us at the February Nintendo Direct, I have been extremely hyped for this title, as hands down out of every other Mario Sports spin-off title, the Strikers series is absolutely my favorite. I have the most nostalgia for the GameCube iteration of this game, and a ton of other fans do too. You can look up the game on eBay and see the kind of prices it sells for. It's definitely a fan classic. There was then a second iteration released on the Wii known as Mario Strikers Charged, and while I did not play that one near as much as the GameCube game, still another fantastic top-notch quality title. And I think something about the soccer style gameplay and how Nintendo developed this exact fun, fast-paced, high-intensity action gameplay as part of this sport is just, it's my favorite. If you put it up against the Mario Golf games and you put it up against the Mario Tennis or even baseball games over the course of time, I have always had Strikers as my favorite iteration for Mario Sports spin-off titles. And we got a brand new roughly 4-minute overview trailer. It is only in Japanese right now, as it was uploaded to the Nintendo of Japan account, so we don't have the official English translation yet, but I do think we will probably get our version of that trailer somewhat soon. Normally within a 7-day span we'll see a very similar trailer released, but with English dub, and so essentially that's going to be coming down the pipeline. We'll know a little bit more of the fine details of exactly what they're going over here, but you can definitely see a lot of interesting characteristics to this game, especially when it comes to character customization, because the kind of outfits that you can put Donkey Kong in, first of all, I'm playing as Donkey Kong primarily in this game, also Waluigi, but definitely Donkey Kong to lead off, and some of his outfits just look outright spectacular in my opinion, and I definitely like to see all of the strategy that goes into the stat adjustments based off of what you are wearing. And it sounds like there will be a lot of unlockables along the way, and of course they highlight the online play, which will also be an absolutely fantastic aspect of this game and one of the key selling points for long-term play in my opinion. But while the trailer is super hype and it definitely highlights some better looks at the gameplay than we have seen, you also have some people online questioning whether or not we are seeing a very negative trend with Mario sports games, being around the fact that we have historically, especially in the Switch era of gaming, seen Nintendo launch a Mario sports title that is extremely light on content at launch, and it slowly gets drip feed updates as time goes on. And while some people have zero problem with that and it gives them a reason to keep hopping back into the game with free update after free update, there are some people like me where Mario Golf Super Rush, for example, I never went back and checked out the last update for that game. It's just something that once I've gone through the primary single player and I've had my fill of some fun with friends on multiplayer, I tend to not hop back into those games, and then I ultimately end up remembering them in the way that they were originally originally launched and not the completed project with all of the content added in as free updates as time has gone on for those titles. So there is definitely a downside to doing it like this, in my opinion, and I am hopeful that it is too early to for sure say that that is the case with Mario Strikers. However, I think it is safe to say that we are absolutely going to see new characters added in as part of free updates, probably new gameplays, modes, and arenas as well. And then that's kind of like, why not just have extra development time and launch it as one complete project? Then if you want to do paid DLC or throw it in as part of the expansion pack later on, you can absolutely do that, and then it's just an enhanced game. But there is definitely a strong argument around the trend that we are starting to see with Mario sports titles just slowly getting drip feed updates as time goes on, and feeling like the games launch extremely light on content when you are purchasing them for a full $60, or pro tip, go buy your games at Walmart physically for the Switch. For some reason they're $50 there, save yourself $10 off every new title. But regardless, that is a high asking price and price tag in my opinion if there is just truly light content. Now with Mario Strikers Battle League specifically, the gameplay of that game far and away surpasses the other Mario sports games, as I mentioned, in my opinion. So I will still be happy to pick this up day one and dive into the game, but I am hopeful that it feels like there is plenty to do, whether you're playing single player, whether you're playing online, or just playing with friends, and that it's not something that we have to wait 6 to 12 months to really get the full game delivered via small patch-in free updates. And another very recent example of this drip feed update schedule is Nintendo Switch Sports, as we know that there are going to be multiple new sports still added in. They've already announced golf, and then I believe there's been a ton of data mines around dodgeball and basketball, and you know what, these are probably going to just be free updates, exactly what we're talking about here. So it's a double-edged sword in my opinion. I can get the appeal that some gamers would like the fact that they have to hop back in to experience new aspects of the game once updates are added in, but then you also have a section of the internet that probably grew up like I did, where you expect a game to essentially be finished when you purchase it, and that might be an old school mentality to have now, but back in the day, in the world of cartridges, and then even the early days of CDs before we had a wireless internet connection to any console we bought, there was not the option to easily patch in and update games. So when you bought the game full retail price, you expected the full experience. And I do think we are starting to see a world of, you know, slowly almost games as a service style, where you buy a base game and then the developers continue to work on it, and at a very slow pace over the course of time it becomes the ultimate completed project. So I'm not the biggest fan of that. I'm still super hyped for Mario Strikers Battle League regardless of the state we see the game launch in, because I just want to hop back into that Mario Strikers style gameplay, but I definitely could understand the frustration. So I want to hear from you guys in the comments down below whether or not you're worried at all of the more recent strategy we've seen with Nintendo around their sports titles and the slow drip feed updates, and if you kind of like to have more content all in the game at launch like I do, or if this is a non-issue for you. And definitely share with me whether or not you're hyped for Mario Strikers Battle League, and what's your favorite Mario sports game of all time, period, if you had to go ahead and rank it on a list. So I want to hear from you guys on all things Mario Strikers Battle League and the brand new gameplay trailer, and whether or not you're planning on getting this game at release in the comments down below. Now, the other story we're talking about today has to do with Nintendo Switch Online Plus expansion pack, how you play N64 games specifically, as this service, if you guys don't know, has already been out for over 7 months at this point, fastly approaching 8 months, as it launched late October in 2021. And there's still one massive mistake I think Nintendo's making with the service. Now, it has gotten significantly better overall over the course of time. If you go back and look at old videos, you will know that initially the higher price point of $50 annually, which when you break it down monthly is not so much to ask, it also felt like a very bare bones service to charge that much. Then we got the launch of the original N64 games, and the state that they launched in, to say they were poor versions of the games would be an understatement in my opinion, as they really did have things like noticeable input delay in Zelda Ocarina of Time, lack of fog rendering, and some very big game crashing bugs that were causing people to actually lose their save data. I was also very worried we wouldn't see Nintendo stick to any kind of schedule for the updates with these games, and while they haven't gone on record and committed themselves to an update, we have consistently seen them add in one N64 game per month, and normally along with that comes some emulator fixes and tweaks, and it has just gotten vastly better in my opinion over this whole course of time. One big problem that we still have that is ongoing with the service today, even after this whole time that is launched, is the lack of N64 controller button mapping, and the fact, to back that up, that if you're somebody like me that likes to play with your classic N64 controller, which I was lucky enough to get one 7 months ago when they originally launched, these are not available anymore. You can't find them. They haven't restocked it once since the launch of the actual controller, and I think that this is absolutely not a good move whatsoever, and it's causing a lot of frustration from players because it's not the easiest controller to remap to a pro controller. Like if you look at the button layout, that controller does not translate very well to a modern controller at all, especially with the C buttons. And while you can, of course, use your thumbstick, your right thumbstick to use those, it's still an overall clunky experience in some games. And while we do have system level button remapping, we don't have emulator specific button remapping, making it a big hassle if you do want to actually go into your settings and change around different directional things to make it feel more like the N64 button layout. But then you have to remember how to navigate your home menu and things when the buttons are not what they are supposed to be. And I feel like at this point in time, it's just time for Nintendo to give us one or the other. Why they can't produce more of a classic controller that is extremely similar to the regular one, by the way. Like, it doesn't seem like they changed much at all other than making it wireless. They're still sourcing pro controllers, so it's not just a component shortage type of deal. Like, did they just forget that people still want this controller? Then you have to have the conversation of the scalper prices on this thing, because it's outlandish right now because of how long it has been. I didn't realize this until I researched it. These controllers, if you want to find them locally from like a US based seller on eBay, they're asking upwards of $200 for these. Now, a lot of them you can get for around the $100 price point. Those normally ship from Japan because maybe Japan's been getting more restocks than us, but I did notice at this point there is very few and far between US sellers that are selling this controller, and a lot of the stocks coming from Japan. But you're still talking $109, $120, $159, and $200. This is a $50 controller. The fact that it is going for those prices and that there is actually sold completed listings at those prices is pretty sick, and it's definitely something that Nintendo needs to just step up and ramp up their production around this controller and get it out there, because I think fans have waited long enough at over 7 months without a single restock, at least hitting the US region. I'm not familiar with the restocks around the rest of the world, but it's definitely an ongoing problem in my opinion, and one that needs to be addressed sooner rather than later. And if for some reason they can't produce enough N64 controllers for the time being, put in the time to release an emulator app update where we can just easily remap the button control layout for different games. Maybe even go a step further and let us create profiles for specific games, because the N64 experience on the controller, if you don't have the original controller, is just quite simply a clunky experience to translate it to a modern day controller. And so certain games play differently than others, so you might not want to remap all your buttons the same for one game as you do for another game. So just let us create some controller profiles in the meantime if Nintendo for some reason can't source this N64 controller that they've had patents on and the exact design for I don't know how long now. It's since the N64 launched. It's kind of crazy to me. I want to hear from you guys at this point in the video where your overall thought process is with the current state of Nintendo Switch Online Plus expansion pack, because as I mentioned, I am overall a fan of the service outside of this one big omission that I think Nintendo has had plenty of time to address at this point, and I clearly think they need to ramp up their production efforts on the N64 controller. And are you like me and you think we should at least have the ability to remap buttons in the emulator, or do you think that everything is good as is and it's not really something that's bothering you specifically? And bonus question, share with me whether or not you've been on the hunt for this controller this whole time, because I've been periodically checking their website, and to my knowledge there hasn't been a single restock that has hit yet. So I want to hear from you guys on both the stories we talked about today, Mario Strikers Battle League and your hype levels around that, and just your overall thoughts and opinions on NSO, the N64 games, and how we have the options to play them via the controller. So I do look forward to hearing from you guys before you leave the video, as I do look forward to getting a back and forth conversation started with you all around these topics. Make sure you check out yesterday's video if you haven't already, where we discussed yet another milestone that the Nintendo Switch has now crossed, and a conversation around the brand new details that were just revealed for Summer Games Fest, and why I'm now more hyped for that presentation than I previously was. Also, make sure you like, subscribe, turn on your notification bell, and I will see you guys in the next video.